In this video, I will teach you how to make a very good bishop collar and how to make a puffy stylish sleeve. If you are yet to see the full video of how this top was made, you can check my previous video and see how I made it from start to finish, step by step. You can see the collar, the way it's relaxing, and here is the sleeve. You can see how nice it's looking. Now let me take you through the process of how it was made. The first thing we are going to be doing is to start with the collar. I have my pattern for the collar here and I have my starting point. Here is the back and here is the front. Now we are going to, I measured the collar round and what I have there is 7 inches. I marked the 7 inches and here I have 3.5. Okay. I'll come up by 3/4 inch here. Then I'll connect with a curve from here, this midpoint here to the 3/4 like so. Then from here I'll come up by 1.25 inch, which is going to be the length of the height of the collar. Okay, I'll also mark 1.25 inch on this part, starting from the 3/4 line, just like this, and I'll get the midpoints also, just the same way I did at the down parts. I'll get the midpoint like this. I'll mark my 3.5, which is for the back neckline. Okay, and I'm just going to connect it like this. Then I'm going to just mark my 1.25 inch just like this. Okay, then I'll just curve it and connect it the same way I did at the down part. Then I'll connect this one with the straight line, and after that I'm just going to blend this middle part here so it will not be sharp at this part. Now once we are done with that, I'm going to come to the edge here and mark from this line. I'll mark 1/2 inch inward. Then I'm just going to curve this part like this. Okay, just curve it so you can have that curvy part around the neckline, around the collar. Okay, so we are done with it and I'm going to cut it out just like this. Okay, so here, after doing this, now what I'm going to do now is to indicate here that it's going to be cut on fold. This part is going to be cut on fold. So you have it here, and I already cut it out on my stay, my collar stay, and I have it on fold, and you can see what I have. Now I have my fabric as well, and I've cut out 2 pieces. I cut out 2 pieces with my 1/2 inch allowance all around. I hope you can see 1/2 inch allowance all around, except for the midpoint. Okay, now I'm going to remove one part here. I'll turn one part to the wrong side and I'll place the stay on it this way, leaving my allowances all around, and I'm going to iron it on it like that. After ironing it, I'm going to place it on the other part like this and I will stitch. So I folded one part of the down part just like this, as you can see. Then you start stitching from that part all the way down with 1/2 inch. Fold that 1/2 inch in and sew on it. Okay, then this is what I have after I was done. Then I'm just going to, you can see what I have. So you're just going to reduce the excess you have around here so you can be properly relaxed. Okay, just reduce this excess here and you're going to turn it to the right side. I hope you understand. So turn it and iron it. So this is what I have after ironing, and you can see that I've folded the 1/2 inch inside already. So now I'm going to notch the midpoints of the collar, and I'll bring my bodice this way, and I'm just going to place it on the back, the middle back of the collar like this, pin it down, and I'll make sure that the edges are matching. I'll match it together, the edge of the collar and the edge of the front bodice. Okay, I'll match it together and I'll pin it down with my collar. Make sure that it is properly relaxed. Okay, if you have your measurement around there, it is going to fit in properly. Okay, so just pin down on the other side as well. You're going to start stitching on the line that you have there already with 1/2 inch. Just stitch with 1/2 inch. Okay, stitch with 1/2 inch and let your 1/2 inch be below the stitch you already have there. Okay, then after doing that, now I'm just going to push in the excess and use this one that you have here to cover it like this. Once you do it the same way I've done it, it's not going to be stressful for you to do, okay? So just stitch on the edge, tiny on the edge, okay? Just like so, and you're going to have a properly relaxed bishop collar, and we are done with the collar. I hope you understand, okay? Now let's get to the sleeve parts. So here I have my fabric on fold of 2, and the total width I have on this sleeve is about 14 inches plus 10, which is 24 inches, okay? Now I'm going to measure my excess first. Now here I measure my puff, which is 4 inches. Then from there I'll measure my sleeve length. Measure your preferred sleeve length and 1.5 inch for hem allowance, okay? Then from the midpoint to this line here, what I have there is 14 inches, okay? 14 inches is what I have here. Then from this line here, this is going to be for our excess for the puff, and here is the basic sleeve. I hope you understand. So my basic sleeve, that's my puff, and here is where my sleeve is starting from. This is my biceps line. My biceps line. Mark your biceps line, and I'll mark 1 inch here for my sleeve allowance, okay? Sewing allowance for the sleeve. Now after doing that, I'm going to mark. You can see what I have here in my round armhole. I've measured it, and what I have there is 9 inches on one side, and I'm going to just mark it here. So this line is my biceps line, and my 1.5 inch for sleeve for the hem allowance, okay? I hope you understand. So I'm going to connect from this line now to this line with a slant line, just like this, just as if we are measuring we are drafting our normal basic sleeve. I'll get the midpoint of this line, and I'm going to mark it just like so, and I'm just going to make the curve around it just like this, okay? Then after doing that, now I'll get my round sleeve. So round sleeve, make sure that your round sleeve, you measure it and it's firm, not tight but firm, okay, so that the sleeve can stand properly. And I'll just measure it and just curve it into it like that, connect the lines just like this, okay? Then once I'm done with that, you're just going to come out here with 1/4 inch. Make sure you do not mark it straight. Come out with 1/4 inch, okay? From here, I'll mark 4 inches here, and I'll just make a curve just like this for my puff here. From here, from the point here, I'll measure 2.5. Measure your 2.5 and just connect the lines into the 2.5, just the same way as I'm doing. Just do it the same way as I'm doing, and you get a good result just the same way I did. And just mark it like so. I hope you understand. Mark it into it like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my allowance, okay? My 1 inch allowance. So you can see the puff like this. So just mark it, and you understand, just do the same way as I'm doing, and you're going to be okay. So I'll mark 1 inch now for my sleeve allowance, and I'm going to just curve it like this. Just follow the shape just like this, and I will come out the same way, slantly like this, okay, on the sleeve hem. Now you can see what we have here, and I'm just going to cut it out just like this. If you have any question, you can ask me in the comment section. I will answer you. Now after doing that, now you can see we have our puff, our excess now, and we also have our basic sleeve. Now I'll come in here now and notch this midpoint here. I'll also come here and notch this midpoint here as well. I hope you understand. Now after doing that, what I'm going to do is to open it up, okay? I'm going to open it up now, and I'm going to fold the hem line inward with our 1.5 allowance that we added, okay? Just fold it in this way. As you can see the sleeve edge here. You can see the way it is matching, because we came out with that curve, with that slant, okay? So that you can have a properly relaxed, sleeve. Now if you want to make sure that you come out like that, and it will be fine and relaxing. Now if you want to add lining to yours, you can just add your lining and reduce it by 1/2 or 1 inch. Then you stitch it together before you start splitting, okay? But if you do not want to add any lining, just do the same way as I am doing now. All right, then after that I'll come to the midpoint here, and I'll just measure 1/2 inch on both sides as if I want to hold a dart. Okay, so iron it, and you can see what I have here. So yeah, I'm going to take my tape now, and I'm going to measure from the upper part. So here, just measure your 1/2 inch together like this. So 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here, and you're going to sew it straight. Don't sew it like that, or just sew it straight. From the upper part, measure 6 inches. From the down parts, I'll measure 8 inches. You understand? Just measure 8 inches, and that's going to be our mark, our guide for where we're going to be stopping the stitching. So I will stitch all the way from the down part to the 8 inches that we marked, and here is what I have after stitching, and you can see. So I'll continue pleating. Now if you want the pleat to to not to be full like this, not to be close together like this, if you want it to be scattered, you want space in between them, then you will have to add about 1/2 inch in between before pleating another one. I hope you understand. So mine does not have a space, that is why it is together like that. So this is how I did mine. So I'll just continue to pleat and pleat and pleat. I hope you understand what I mean. So if you want to, you can just add, so that the split can spread. That is why you need to have about 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch in between the stitches, in between the pleats. So that means you're going to be adding more to your excess. Instead of 14 inches, you can mark about 20 or 18 inches. Okay, so you're going to pleat up until this notch here. Once you get to this notch, you're going to stop pleating, because this is where our normal sleeve is going to be starting from. I hope you understand. So just stop on this line here, and you're going to repeat exactly the same thing for this other side here, and this is just one sleeve. Okay, just stop on this part here as well. Also, this is what I have after I was done, and you can see how nice. So this is what I was saying, that if you don't want it to be too close like this, just give space in between them, and it is going to be scattered. Now what I'm going to do is to get my round armhole. I'm just going to put my tape into the midpoint like this. When you check inside, you're going to see the midpoint of your sleeve. Just put your tape into the midpoint like this, and I'm going to measure what I have there, and I'm going to mark my round armhole. I hope you understand. And I'm just going to stitch on it. Just turn it to the other side, this way, to the wrong side, and I'm going to mark my round armhole, make sure that it is fitted, and then stitch with my allowance just like this. I hope you understand. So here's what I have after I was done, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring the bodice here. I'm just going to cut out this part slantly, so I can have a relaxed, so that the sleeve will not be pulling the bodice. It can relax on the armhole area. So I'm going to bring this part here now, and I'm going to merge it together, open it up this way, and merge it together this way like this. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to merge it together, and I'm going to pin it down just like this. I hope you understand up to this point. Just pin it down like this, and I'm going to flip it to the other side like so, and I'm going to place this notch in the on the middle point of the armhole. That's the shoulder, the midpoint of the shoulder, and I'm just going to pin it down that way. So from the down part here, I'm going to measure 4 inches. Measure 4 inches, and I'm going to mark on the 4 inches like this. Then I am going to stitch straight from this down part to the 4 inches. Then after doing that, this is the excess that I have. Then I'm just going to pleat this excess into this part here. This is the one part here, and I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other side, and then repeat the whole process for the next sleeve. So here is what the sleeve is looking like. I hope you like it. If you find this video helpful, kindly give my video a thumbs up, share, and comment, and let me know what you think about it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to see you on the next one.